Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. This Saturday is UFC 288, Aljamain Sterling versus Henry Cejudo. And in the co-main event, we have Belal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns. And this is going to be my full breakdown and prediction. And this is a fight that was made on short notice. The original co-main event was Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush. Charles Oliveira had to withdraw from the fight with some type of minor injury. And the UFC was kind of scrambling for a new co-main event, and they settled on Belal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns. This is a super meaningful fight for the division. Honestly, right now, the winner of this fight is the number one contender in the welterweight division. I know Dana White is insistent that Colby Covington's getting the next shot. Even if that does happen, I believe the winner of Belal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns will be next in line for a title shot after that fight. But this fight is so important, and they're doing the UFC a favor by doing this on such short notice, literally 2 weeks notice, that I think the winner of Belal Muhammad versus Gilbert Burns could leapfrog Colby Covington and get a title shot against Leon Edwards next. Especially considering Leon Edwards doesn't even want to fight Colby Covington. He's been insistent, I'm not fighting him, I'm not signing the contract, he doesn't deserve a title fight. And if Belal wins this fight, he's on a 9-fight winning streak. If Gilbert Burns wins this fight, he's on a 3-fight winning streak, all against ranked competition for Gilbert. And Colby Covington's only on a 1-fight win streak against Jorge Masvidal, who Gilbert Burns just beat in his last fight. And then he would be having a win over Belal Muhammad. So this fight is kind of weird because it's on such short notice. But it's also a 5-round co-main event. It's not just a 3-round fight, but it is a legitimate number one contender fight in the welterweight division. I absolutely love this fight. It's a stylistically very fun fight. And on top of that, both guys are super highly skilled, and it's so meaningful for the division. I cannot wait for this matchup. I do hate a little bit that it is on short notice, but it is what it is. This is our co-main event for UFC 288. So if you look at the tail of the tape for this fight, you have Belal Muhammad, who is 22-3, Gilbert Burns 22-5. Muhammad's ranked number 4, Burns is ranked number 5 in the UFC official rankings. Muhammad is 34, Burns is 36. Muhammad is 5'11, Burns is 5'10. Muhammad has a 72-inch reach and Burns has a 71-inch reach. So a 1-inch height and reach advantage for Belal Muhammad. So if you look at Gilbert Burns, of his 22 pro MMA wins, 6 by knockout, 9 by submission, and 7 by decision. He's on a 2-fight win streak. His last fight was just a couple weeks ago on April 8th against Jorge Masvidal. He won this fight via unanimous decision. I thought he won all 3 rounds, even though Joe Rogan on the commentary was pretending like it was a close fight. But Gilbert Burns went out there, outstruck him, mixing the grappling, took him down, beat him up on the ground. It wasn't a super impressive performance considering Jorge Masvidal was on his way out the door and Jorge Masvidal had lost a bunch of fights in a row. And, you know, I mean, Gilbert Burns did what he needed to do. It wasn't a boring fight. It wasn't a horrible performance. But considering Congressman Masvidal was on his way out, he retired after this fight, I just expected more from Gilbert Burns, more domination. The first round was competitive, and the fight was competitive itself, but it was clear that Gilbert Burns was winning. But still, I don't know. I just expected Gilbert Burns to go out there and perform a little bit better against an aging and a down-the-hill Jorge Masvidal. But he went out there, outstruck him, outgrappled, and won the fight 30-27, in my opinion. Also, I meant to mention, of Burns' 5 losses, he's lost twice by knockout and 3 by decision. His last fight before the Jorge Masvidal fight was against Neil Magny in his hairline at UFC 283 back in January, late January. So Gilbert Burns being super active in 2023. Went out there, took Neil Magny down, arm triangle in the first round, dominated this fight, destroyed Neil Magny. He did what he was supposed to do. Neil Magny has kind of been like a gatekeeper for the top 15, top 10 for a long while. Gilbert Burns, top 5 guy for the last few years, went out there, did what he was supposed to do to Neil Magny. The fight before that at UFC 273, and this is Gilbert Burns' last loss. This was back in April of 2022 against Khamzat Chimaev. And this was Khamzat Chimaev's, big step up in competition. We were going to find out, is he the real deal? We found out he was the real deal. Amazing fight, back and forth fight. Khamzat Chimaev hurts Gilbert Burns in the first round, almost finishes Gilbert Burns in the first round. A little bit of an exaggeration. It wasn't like razor close to a stoppage, but hurt him badly, looked for the finish, didn't get it. Second round, Gilbert Burns comes out, wins the second round, lands big shots on Khamzat Chimaev, drops him in the second round. Then the third round was back and forth. I thought Khamzat Chimaev did more damage in the third round. Khamzat takes it 29-28 victory. But still, Gilbert Burns' stock went up after this fight. He did a very good job defending the takedown. He did very well on the feet against a much bigger fighter in Khamzat Chimaev. So even though he lost, his stock didn't really go down. The fight before that, he went out there at UFC 264. This was July of 2021 against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, an opponent in common with Belal Muhammad. Went out there, out-grappled him for the entire fight. Held him against the cage, took him down, beat him up. Not a super impressive performance, but you're not going to sit there and strike with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson on the feet. So Gilbert Burns did what he had to do to win this fight. And then the fight before that, he fought for the title against Kamaru Usman at UFC 258. This was in February of 2021. Hurt Usman early, wasn't able to capitalize and finish him. Then he gets finished in the third round, gets hurt with a jab badly, and then Kamaru Usman finishes him with ground and pound. And, you know, if you look at his last two losses, to have a loss to Khamzat Chimaev, who's moving up to middleweight and is probably going to be in contention at middleweight, and then Kamaru Usman, one of the greatest of all time at welterweight, not bad losses to have. Outside of that, his last loss before that was all the way back in July of 2018 against Dan Hooker at lightweight, where he got KO'd in the first round. But that's a whole different Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns cutting weight down to lightweight, entirely different Gilbert Burns, and that's all the way back in 2018. That's 5 years ago, essentially. This July, it'll be 5 years. So that's an entirely different Gilbert Burns. You move over to Belal Muhammad. He's on an 8-fight win streak. It depends how you look at the Leon Edwards no contest. That's sandwiched in between there, but I still consider it an 8-fight win streak. His last fight was against Sean Brady. Actually, he has 22 pro MMA wins, 5 by knockout, 1 by submission, 16 by decision. He has 3 losses, once by knockout, 2 by decision. He comes into this fight. His last fight was against Sean Brady at UFC 280 in October of 2022. Very competitive fight, very back and forth fight. Belal Muhammad pressuring nonstop. Brady landed some good shots, some good left hooks, was tagging up Belal. Belal never seemed hurt at all, just kept marching forward, throwing good technical combination, good straight punches, ends up hurting Sean Brady in the second round and never lets him off the hook. It was a hair of an early stoppage. It was a standing TKO, but Belal Muhammad was going to get him out of there. He was throwing nasty combos. He had killer instinct. He was going for the finish, and Sean Brady just wasn't defending himself. And this was a very good fight, and it was a very good win for Belal Muhammad. I actually picked Sean Brady in this fight. I've picked Belal Muhammad fights horribly. I don't remember the last time I picked a Belal Muhammad fight right, probably the Damian Maia fight back in June of 2021. The fight before that, he fought Vicente Luque. I actually picked Vicente Luque as well. This was in April 2022. Belal Muhammad went out there, out-grappled him. You know, he circled around, he backed up, he counter-struck, and then he shot in on well-timed takedowns, out-grappled Vicente Luque, beat him via decision. Solid win for Belal Muhammad. A lot of people were counting him out in that fight as well. The fight before that, he fought Wonderboy Thompson, went out there, out-grappled Wonderboy Thompson. Wasn't the best fight in the world, but he's fighting Wonderboy Thompson. Same thing Gilbert Burns did. Went out there, out-grappled him, took him down, beat him up against the fence, and won the fight via decision. His last, I don't even want to say it's a loss because it's not a loss. The last fight where he really wasn't winning was against Leon Edwards in March of 2021. He was a short notice replacement opponent against Leon Edwards. This was supposed to be the Khamzat Chimaev fight, booked for the third time. Belal Muhammad steps in. He's losing the fight. He gets eye poked. He can't continue. It's a no contest. I think Leon Edwards was on his way to winning this fight. He was lighting Belal up, but it ended in the second round. So we really don't know. We can't definitively call that a loss. Obviously, it's not technically a loss on his resume, but still went in there against Leon Edwards, and now he's trying to get that rematch with Leon Edwards, who is the welterweight champion. And then the fights before that, we're getting back to 2020, not against the best competition. Diego Lima, Lyman Good, you know what I mean? It's just not the best level of competition, but still, he worked up this long win streak in the welterweight division. His last loss was against Jeff Neal in January of 2019. Got outstruck by Jeff Neal in this fight. Really, it isn't even the Belal Muhammad that we know, today's Belal Muhammad. It really wasn't. He's improved so much over the past few years. And Jeff Neal, we know how good Jeff Neal is. I know he just lost to Shavkat Rakhmonov, but Jeff Neal, quality fighter. And then you go back to the last loss before that. We're going back all the way to 2016 against Vicente Luque. He got clipped and KO'd in the first round by Vicente Luque, but he's since avenged that loss. So, what does that really mean? That's 7 years ago. We're going back 7 years ago. It means absolutely nothing. Belal Muhammad is a much different fighter in today's day and age in 2023. The Belal Muhammad that fought Sean Brady back at UFC 280 is not the Belal Muhammad from 2016. Nowhere close to it. And that's what makes this fight so interesting is both guys have improved leaps and bounds over the past few years. But what is a massive X factor for this fight is the short notice of it. I mean, I think the short notice of it gives Gilbert Burns a little bit of an advantage because he just fought April 8th. So he's roughly fighting a month later. How much did he blow up after the win over Jorge Masvidal? I doubt it was all that much. But either way, he just came off a training camp. He's probably in better shape than Belal Muhammad, who didn't have a fight on the horizon, who hadn't fought since October. So I think it's very hard to pick this fight just based on that because we don't know what kind of shape Belal Muhammad's going to come in. I know there was rumors that he was cutting like 40 pounds or something crazy like that. Apparently they were just joking. A lot of people ran with it. He doesn't have to cut a whole lot of weight, but there was some talk about making this at a potential catch weight. So that leads me to believe Belal Muhammad didn't want to cut all this weight on 2 weeks' notice, even if it is just 15 or 20 pounds or whatever it ends up being. And I don't know how Belal Muhammad's, typical strategy of pressure and volume and mixing in the wrestling is going to look against Gilbert Burns. And that's what makes this fight so hard to pick. If we had both guys on full training camps, it would be much easier to pick this fight, even though it would still be a pick 'em, in my opinion, a 50-50 fight. But, it being on short notice, I hate that it's on short notice. I do love that this fight is on the card, but I hate that it's on short notice. If I had to go with paths to victory for both guys, if Gilbert Burns wins this fight, I think he wins by decision. I think Gilbert Burns could get a late TKO if Belal Muhammad isn't in 5-round shape, because this is a 5-round fight, a short notice, a 2-week 5-round fight. That leads me to believe both guys are in shape, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe the UFC wasn't going to make it if it wasn't 5 rounds. I don't know. But if I was picking Gilbert Burns, I'd pick him either via decision or like a late round TKO. I don't think he's submitting Belal Muhammad unless he hurts him badly on the feet, follows him to the ground and submits him. Because even though Gilbert Burns has finished the majority of the fights via submission, he submitted Neil Magny 2 fights ago. But since then, when was the last time he got a submission win? We're talking back in 2019 against Mike Davis. Where is Mike Davis nowadays? I don't even remember what Mike Davis looks like, to be quite honest. So it's not like he's submitting the top tier welterweights. I don't think he's going to take Belal Muhammad down and submit him. You look at Belal Muhammad, what is his path to victory? I think Belal Muhammad's most likely paths to victory are either decision or TKO, KO. I think Gilbert Burns, I think it's a bit of a myth, but it's also does have some truth to it. Gilbert Burns is a little bit chinny. He's been rocked by jabs against Khamzat Chimaev and Kamaru Usman, which eventually led to his finish. And, he got KO'd by Dan Hooker, but it's not like he's been KO'd a lot. And he hasn't taken really any damage in his last 2 fights. But also Belal Muhammad via decision, I think, is also his path to victory. Belal Muhammad's not submitting Gilbert Burns. He has 1 submission win in 22 wins. And he's definitely not submitting a guy like Gilbert Burns, who has excellent submission games and BJJ skills. So I don't think that's going to happen. But this fight is so hard to pick because both guys are good grapplers, but I don't think either guy is going to be able to effectively grapple against the other. I don't think Gilbert Burns is going to be able to go out there and take Belal Muhammad down. I don't think Belal Muhammad's going to be able to go out there and take Gilbert Burns down. So what this comes down to is the striking. Who is the better striker? And I don't know. Gilbert Burns, I would say, probably has the power advantage, but Belal Muhammad's striking has improved. He throws majority straight shots, and Gilbert Burns has been susceptible to getting clipped with that jab, getting clipped with straight punches. We saw it in the Khamzat Chimaev fight, even though Khamzat Chimaev also did get wild as well. And this fight is so difficult to pick, but I am going to go with my gut feeling on this one. I am going to go Belal Muhammad 3rd round TKO. And I know that sounds crazy to some people, but I just think Belal Muhammad's striking is improving. I believe, he's been working on it. It looked good in the Sean Brady fight. It's still not, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson striking, but I think he's going to be able to go out there and stuff the takedowns of Gilbert Burns. Even if Gilbert Burns shoots takedowns, I don't know if he's going to, because he's going to know Belal Muhammad's going to stuff him, because both guys are very even in the wrestling department. And I just think without the threat of the takedown from Gilbert Burns, I think Belal Muhammad will be able to have some success on the feet. And I just think Belal Muhammad's straight punches will be more effective than Gilbert Burns kind of rushing in and throwing those looping hooks. And I think Gilbert Burns will land some of those hooks. We've seen Sean Brady do it. And Sean Brady's not known for elite striking, but Belal Muhammad has an excellent chin. He never even got rocked by Sean Brady, even though he ate some big shots. And I just think we're going to see a Belal Muhammad. It's going to start off kind of patient, kind of pacing himself because it's a 5-round fight and because he took this on short notice. So we're going to see it kind of, start really slow for both guys. And I don't think either guy is going to have effective grappling. I don't think either guy is really going to get a takedown. And I just think both guys are going to land really good shots on the feet. But I just think the durability of Belal Muhammad is going to be the difference in this fight. I think this is going to be a back and forth striking match. I see Gilbert Burns throwing 2-3 bunch combinations, good power shots, leaping in with a left hook. We saw Sean Brady land that time and time again. And Gilbert Burns, he'll switch stances. He'll be in an orthodox stance, switch to unorthodox, and then he'll just throw a leaping right hook or, a lead right hook and land. He did that against Khamzat Chimaev. He has very good striking, but I just think those looping shots, you're going to see a Belal Muhammad who's very patient, who knows he's not going to be taken down because he has very good wrestling and takedown defense himself. And I just think he's going to be pumping that jab. He's eventually going to find a home for it. He's going to be throwing straight right hands. He's going to land on the chin of Gilbert Burns. He's going to get the timing later in the fight. He's going to be able to rock Gilbert Burns, follow him to the ground, and finishes him via ground and pound in the 3rd round. But honestly, I think this fight could go either way. I could also see Gilbert Burns, kind of being a close fight back and forth, and then Gilbert Burns getting like a 4th round finish because maybe Belal Muhammad isn't in top tier shape and he gets drawn in to more of a firefight, or he looks for the finish in the 2nd or 3rd round, doesn't get it, and then is gassed going into the 4th or 5th. But I just think what it comes down to for me, what's making me pick Belal Muhammad is the straight shots of Belal Muhammad and the durability of Belal Muhammad versus the durability of Gilbert Burns. I do think Gilbert Burns has the stamina advantage here, especially because he just had a fight camp for Jorge Masvidal a month ago. But I think Belal Muhammad, he's going to be very patient early. He's going to be conserving his energy. He might give away the 1st round. Gilbert Burns might win the 1st round just, with some leaping hooks and some good leg kicks. But I think as the fight goes on, I think you're going to see Belal Muhammad pick up the pace, start pressuring Gilbert Burns, and landing some of those straight shots, landing the jab. He pumped the jab against Sean Brady time and time again and was landing at will with that there. And I think Gilbert Burns, he's taken a lot of damage. He's been rocked quite a few times. He only got finished twice against Kamaru Usman and against Dan Hooker back at lightweight. So I do think it's a bit of a myth that he's like, Cody Garbrandt at this point or Marlon Moraes at this point. He's not. But I think Belal Muhammad has a size advantage. I think he has good power. And I think those straight shots, he's going to find his rhythm in the 3rd round. He's going to pick up the pace in the 3rd round, knowing, okay, we only have 3 rounds left. I conserved my energy up until this 3rd round. I'm going to start picking up the pace. I'm going to start pressing Gilbert Burns. I'm going to land good shots. And Gilbert Burns, he's a savage. He'll get into a firefight. And I just think those straight punches are going to win it for Belal. You'll see Gilbert Burns throwing wild hooks. And meanwhile, you see Belal just pumping the jab, boom, straight right hand right on the chin. And I just think Belal Muhammad's durability, he'll be able to eat a shot. He'll press forward, eat a shot to land a shot. And I think if I had to pick a chin to rely on in this fight, I'm picking Belal Muhammad. I think the striking's kind of even. I already mentioned the differences in the technical abilities of both guys. On paper, maybe Gilbert Burns is a little bit more technical, but usually he doesn't fight that way. He doesn't throw a lot of straight shots. He doesn't throw a lot of jabs. It's leaping in hooks. And also, I think Belal Muhammad has an underrated kicking game. I could see Belal Muhammad landing a head kick and hurting Gilbert Burns and then finishing him with ground and pound. But this is a close fight. It's a difficult fight to pick because of all the X factors. But I am going Belal Muhammad, 3rd round TKO, ground and pound. Let me know what you guys think about this pick down in the comments. Who are you picking, Belal Muhammad or Gilbert Burns? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like this video. And also, I will link my entire UFC 288 playlist down in the description if you want to go check out any of my other UFC 288 prediction videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.